Okay, everybody, welcome. Today is the day. We're going to have Bruce. Bruce is going to be on. Now, you're wondering, who is Bruce? You haven't said anything about Bruce. Guys, Bruce is the old man. I finally remembered his name. I just got done talking to him. He's going to come up here in a little bit. As you can hear, my fire alarm's still beeping at me. Just ignoring it. Whatever. Got Bruce coming up. Bruce is going to tell you guys some epic stories. You've heard me for 3 weeks now talk about this guy. And today you're going to hear the man for himself. You're going to hear his stories. You're going to hear his life. You're going to hear about Vietnam. You're going to hear about being a pilot. You're going to hear about him owning a wolf. That's right, I said it. He owns a wolf. He accidentally lit a Bengal tiger on fire. Like I said, accidentally. You will hear the story from the man himself. Sorry, I can't talk. I've been up since probably 7 o'clock. I've already had about 4 cups of coffee. Nothing to eat. I'm a little jittery. Been cleaning. I didn't want Bruce to come into a dirty apartment, so I've been up cleaning. I gave Cooper a bath. Ladies and gentlemen, Cooper is coming into maturity. Now, it happens. I went through puberty. I'm sure you went through puberty. But puberty, I can't talk today for some reason. It's all the coffee. Hey, if you want some strong coffee, go to your local Sprouts, okay, and get their vanilla bean coffee. It's got me so hyped up. I feel like I just smoked a crack rock. I wouldn't know what that's like, actually, to be honest. I've never smoked crack. I smoke pot, but this is not pot. Pot gets me calm and sits me down and plants me on my couch for about 45 minutes, and then I get real antsy and got to do something. But this coffee, I would compare this coffee to a lady named Madonna. She works with me. She makes the most it's not god-awful, but it is powerful. It is God-powering, people. This coffee is strong. 1 cup and your ass is going to be bouncing off the walls the rest of the day. And the crash, ladies and gentlemen, is like 100-car pile up. You will fall asleep in mid-sentence. I promise you that. But anyway, about Cooper, he's going into maturity. He's starting to shed a lot. I mean, I can vacuum the floor. 10 minutes later, there's already little black hairballs. And he scratches constantly. He doesn't have fleas. We spray him. We give him baths at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. I mean, this dog is pampered, ladies and gentlemen. And I had to use my vacuum to groom him this morning. What I did is, after I vacuumed the floor, before I gave him a bath, I decided, I'm going to groom him up a little bit, kind of get, a little bit of the standing dirt off of him and some of the loose hairs off of him before I put him in the bath. So I take the hose off of the vacuum. I put the little brush gimmick on there, the brush handle thing. And Cooper comes over, and he absolutely loves this, by the way. This is the second time I've had to do this with him, but he loves it. He lays down, lets me rub his belly with it while it sucks up the hairs and the dirt, and I can rub it around his ears. It doesn't bother him. He absolutely enjoys it. In fact, when he's laying on his back and you're on his rib cage, his legs, both of them, most dogs, they kick one leg. Cooper kicks both. I mean, he enjoys it. So it's not harmful to him. He absolutely loves it. But that's what I got to do to groom him now, because the little brush we have, his hair just gets matted. Well, not matted, but his hair's so thick and it's so coarse that it tangles the brush gets stuck. And I don't want to just be pulling on him, pulling and ripping his hair out and hurting him and scratching him up because the little the bristles are metal. I don't want to do that. So I used a vacuum cleaner. And he loves it. It's funny to me. It's my wife thinks it's funny. She saw me do it the other day, and he loves it. So why, probably just gonna have to groom him that way from now on. And I owe you people an apology. I get sidetracked, but I gotta tell y'all, because in the last episode I went back and listened to it. I didn't tell you how I saved Cooper's life, and I'm sure everybody is still on pins and needles about how I saved Cooper's life. The lady with the pit bull. Now, like I said in past episodes, this is a big, muscular pit bull. The lady is an older lady. This dog is too strong for her. I've watched it a couple times now pull the leash out of her hand, by running and jerking it out of her hand. And the dog did this one day, one morning while I'm downstairs with Cooper so he can take care of his business. And the dog sees Cooper. Well, I don't know if this dog is vicious. I don't know if it's going to attack Cooper. I don't know what it's going to do. All I know is that this dog is making a beeline straight for Cooper at full speed. And all I can do, Cooper is at this point, I'm close enough where I can get in between him and Cooper and do something, at least for a split second, block the dog. Well, the dog gets closer and closer. Well, in my head, all I register is kick the dog, kick at the dog. So I do. I kick the dog. I kick the dog square in the jaw. That gives Cooper enough time, and it disorients the dog enough. Cooper takes off running and runs underneath one of our stairwells. Well, the dog follows him, but by this time the dog's leash is at my feet, so I grab the leash real quick, and I pull the dog closer to me. The dog doesn't show any signs of aggression. It doesn't bark, growl, or do anything. And it had one of those choke collars on, and I picked it up by the leash end, and I walked the dog on its hind legs back to the woman. And yes, you just heard that correctly. I picked the dog up by the leash, made it walk on its hind legs like a human, back to the woman, probably 15, 20 feet. And, when I gave the dog back to the woman, I didn't know what this dog was going to do, so I didn't want to give the dog, it's not like I just started beating the shit out of this dog. I did very minimal to the dog. It didn't, do anything extravagant, a swift kick to disorient the dog and to, give me time to think of something else to do, much less, help save Cooper. Because like I said, I don't know what this dog's going to do, how it's going to act. It could be the nicest dog in the world, but you just don't know. So I did what I thought anybody would do, in that situation, So I walked the dog back to the lady on its hind legs. I'm expecting this lady to be a little upset that I did that because the scene looked horrible. I yanked this dog up, made it walk on its hind legs, and I expected the lady to say something to me, but she didn't. She said, "I'm so sorry about that." I handed her the dog. I said, it's okay. And like I said, I expected her to say, hey, that, don't treat my dog that way. You don't kick my dog, something. But she didn't say anything. And then she had one of those walking sticks with the clamps on the end and the trigger on the, at the handle so you can pick stuff up. And she whacked, she smacked the dog a couple times on its ass and started scolding the dog. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's, I'd probably do the same thing. I don't think I would, if Cooper yanked himself out of mine or my wife's hands and somebody else had a little puppy and they didn't know how Cooper was going to react. And even though I know Cooper's nice, that lady could have known the dog wasn't going to harm her, harm Cooper. But being on the opposite end of that, I don't know how that dog reacted. So I reacted the way I thought anybody would. And I wouldn't be mad if somebody did that to Cooper either, because I'd probably whoop him a couple of times when we got in the house for pulling himself off, away from me, because he should know better not to do that. And when I've got him on a leash, he knows that we go where this guy says we go. I don't yank him around and pull him around. He walks right beside me. He doesn't try to lead. He lets me lead. He knows I'm the alpha here. And Cooper, and he's getting big too, ladies and gentlemen. Cooper's getting, and he's getting smart. He's getting really smart. He's learning new things. He used to have these little, he would tear up my rug on the balcony. And now he's not messing with the rug. He's not chewing up as much stuff. I think not only is he getting a little mature and he's starting to learn certain, where he can and can't go in our apartment. We don't let him in our closets. And we try to keep him out of the kitchen as much as possible. But, he knows that he can go in our bedroom, our bathroom. Our bathroom's really cool. He's got a lot of hair, so that's why he goes there. But he's learning new tricks. And when we go downstairs, I make him walk in front of me. And then when we come back up the stairs, I make him walk to the right of me. When we come into the apartment, I make him sit and wait before he comes in the apartment. I make him sit and wait before he can eat his food when I give him food in the bowl. He gives me high fives. He shakes my hand. If I tell him to go lay down, he lays down. If he fetches, he's starting to get tug of war. We're starting to play tug of war more. and I can already feel him getting stronger in that sense. But overall, he's been a real good dog. He's getting mature, and pretty soon we might have to take him to the vet though. I don't. We might have to get him neutered. That's if I think he's getting a little too aggressive, because I do play rough with him, but I make sure that there's a boundary there that we don't cross. Anytime he even gets close to that boundary, I cut him off and we calm it down right then and there, so it doesn't exasperate. It doesn't go above that. And I'm looking in Cooper's mouth because he's over here. He's licking my hand, and Cooper is missing a tooth. I just noticed that. He's missing one of his front teeth. Let me see this. Come here, Cooper. Let me see them teeth. Yep, looks like a baby tooth fell out and a new tooth is growing in. So Cooper's getting his baby teeth out. So he's growing up. I'm gonna stop rambling about Cooper. What do I got going on in my life while I got y'all here by myself for a second? So I want Bruce to have as much time as possible. I'm not gonna take up too much time. I don't really have anything to complain about. Have great days at work. Looking for a new job at the moment. I'm just not happy at Kohl's anymore. When I first started there, I had all this stuff to learn, all this stuff to prove, and now I feel like it's just kind of been in vain. A couple things have happened. I got February or March. I got March's Employee of the Month, but it wasn't posted. Nobody knew about it. My picture didn't go up like everybody else's does. And every month we have a calendar, and it tells your birthday and your work anniversary. Well, my birthday was April 3rd. My name was not on the board for it. My anniversary was April 16th. It was not up there for my 1 year being at Kohl's. It was not up there. And I haven't really been. I know I've gotten compliments. If you get a compliment from a customer and they go through corporate to do it, I've gotten several of those that I know I have because I've seen the paper, but I'm not really getting awarded any pen. I got awarded a pen the other day, but I'm not a ribbon collector. That's what we called them in the Army. You're a ribbon collector. I'm not a pen collector, but I would like to just be acknowledged for the work that I do, and I don't feel like it's happening at Kohl's anymore. The atmosphere has changed. Everything seems a little more negative. Everybody's complaining about everybody. Everybody's having beef. And it's getting real childish. And, I don't want to be put in a situation kind of like between me and the customer, where things got out of hand. And so I'm looking for a new job, better opportunities, maybe, a place with more hours. That's my big thing with Kohl's. I love working there. I love interacting with people, but I don't like the hours. I work, 4 and 5 little bullshit hour shifts, and I don't like that. I think it's a waste of my time. I think it's a waste of my talent, and quite frankly, somebody. I'm not trying to fill y'all with bullshit, but I go into work and I bust my ass, and I've said that before on another episode, but nobody up there, everybody seems to have a problem with everybody, and it's getting a little too childish, We're not in grade school anymore, y'all. This is the adult world. You don't need to go to your manager if there's a problem. You don't need to have a written statement if there's a problem. Why can't you just come to me if you have a problem with me, and vice versa? Why can't I just come to you without something small escalating? There's no reason for something small to escalate into somebody getting basically a written warning or a reprimand. It's ridiculous. We're adults. Let's talk about it. If I say something that offends you, come to me and say, hey, that kind of got, irked me the wrong way. And I'll apologize because I'm man enough to do that. But I don't know what it is. I'm not going to get on a big rant. I've had an awesome week. We got episodes 1, 2, and 3 out on YouTube. Just go search Showtime with Johnny Mack. They'll pop up. Listen to them, like them, comment, give me some feedback, good or bad. I got broad shoulders. I can take criticism. What else do we got here? There's my email at podcast_Mack@yahoo.com. email me your tips, your suggestions, your critiques. If you want to, I want to do like an AMA like they do on Twitter and stuff. Ask me anything. So email me some questions that you think, you want to hear, or you want to hear my opinion on, or just if you want to talk, if you don't have my number, you can Facebook me. You can, leave a comment in my email if you want to, keep it kind of private. You can ask me a question. I'll read it. If you don't want it answered, that's fine. I won't answer it on here. I'll answer you through the email. That's fine if you need that. But yeah, man, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to get paid to do. But I know sometimes you got to do gigs for free, Anyway, Cooper's doing good. The podcast is taking off. People are liking it. People are watching the videos. I'm promoting it. I'm telling people about it. Y'all do the same. Word of mouth is the best advertising. It's free advertising. And it doesn't hurt anybody to say, hey, John's got a podcast. Well, what's podcast? Well, here, let's listen to him real quick. And that's how things get started. So we're gonna keep churning out new podcasts every Tuesday. We're gonna have interesting guests. We're gonna have interesting conversations. We're gonna have off the wall. We're gonna have randomness. We're gonna have. I had a friend of mine. I caught my friend Gio. His name's Gio. He lives on the apartment across from me. I was outside one day and I started smelling pot. I started smelling weed and I was like, ooh, who is that? So I start looking around and I hear somebody cough. So I turn my head to the right. I look up one floor and there's Gio smoking a joint, smoking a blunt, whatever he was smoking. But it was marijuana. And I don't have a problem with it. Y'all know how I feel. I'm not going to go on another rant. But, I waved to him. He waved back, kind of nodded at me like, yeah, you caught me. Okay, haha. And then a couple days, about a week later, I was downstairs with Cooper and Gio was downstairs with his daughter. We got to talking, whatever. I told him about the podcast. He thanked me for not telling anybody. Told him it's not a problem, dude. You know me, blah, blah. I don't care about, pot. It's, it's not cocaine or heroin or meth, so it's cool with my book. But anyways, we talked or whatever. He joked, said we should do a different, how we did the different beer episodes. We should do the different weed episodes. I told him I didn't know how that one would go over with my wife, but if I was single, it'd definitely be a go. I'd do it right then and there. But anyway, Gio will probably be on here. I don't think we'll be trying out different pots because we'd probably get stuck to the couch and wouldn't be able to talk, so you'd hear an hour of silence. But I don't know, Gio, I talked to him. He seems like an interesting guy. He's a young father, single father. He takes care of his kids, so I got all the respect in the world for him right then and there. If I didn't know anything else about the guy, I know that he's a good guy just because of that. He works 2 jobs. I know that. So this is a good guy. And, I might just have him on here just to kind of bullshit around and guy talk. I'm sure being a single parent, he doesn't get to go out much. And I'm sure he's got stuff that he'd like to talk about. So we're going to have him on. We'll do that. And then in the meantime, I'm just going to keep trying lining up podcasts. I've already got about 4 or 5 people wanting to come on. You're gonna hear all kinds of stories. And you're gonna hear all kinds of things. But anyway, I'm gonna stop flapping my gums. It's been about 20 minutes. We're gonna get into the body of this show. Here's Bruce. Hope y'all enjoy it. Okay, everybody, we're back. We've been talking for about an hour and a half now, getting warmed up, got our blood pressure raised, talked about Iraq, we talked about terrorists, we talked about America. I got Bruce here with me. Bruce is a Vietnam veteran. He was a Bush pilot in Alaska. He flew for Mary Kay. He knew her on a personal level. She gave him a painting out of her office. He used to own a wolf and some land down in Austin, Texas. He's sitting right here beside me. Bruce, you heard the opening to the show. We've been talking for about an hour and a half. And the big question was, how do you want me to talk? And you asked me that. And I said, hey, man, we're just going to bullshit around. We're going to talk. And nobody sponsor this, so we can say and do what we want. Just cut out a few choice words, and that's it. And so now we're sitting here. Cooper's all up in his lap. Cooper acts like he don't get no attention whenever people come over. It makes me feel bad, but he doesn't care. He's enjoying it. He's soaking up. Bruce is playing with him. Bruce. everybody wants to hear about this Bengal tiger. So I'm just going to jump into it. Let's hit them with the big story first. And I want to hear your firsthand accounts about this tiger.
Okay, we were in Vietnam. There was a platoon of us, and we chased some Viet Cong, we thought, into a cave. And we brought up our flamethrowers, and we dispersed them. And then out of the mouth of the cave, instead of Viet Cong coming out on fire, a tiger came out, and it was on fire. And I froze, and the captain standing beside me shot it numerous times, and it was dead. I don't know.
If a Bengal tiger is on fire and it's coming at me from
Overhead.
Basically it's coming out of a hole in the ground, I would shit my pants. I've been in some hairy situations, but I would shit my pants on that one.
Well, the big thing, they didn't tell us there were tigers in Vietnam. So when this happened, my mind just didn't believe it. It kept saying, no, this can't be happening because they don't exist in Vietnam, we thought.
Now you had cobras you had to watch out for. You had centipedes, you had millipedes, you had ants the size of quarters. I've never been to Vietnam. I'm just going off the little bit my grandpa told me, and the movies I've seen. But how do they not know a tiger's there? I mean, how do you miss a 600-pound cat?
I gotta be honest with you, I don't know, because I had never, in the year and a half that we had been there, I had never heard, seen, or was made privy to know that, we had to worry about tigers. I don't know what to say. I mean, they told us there were 67 kinds of poisonous snakes in Vietnam. The rats down on the river would weigh as much as 35 pounds. That's fact.
A 35-pound rat?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's how Cooper doesn't even weigh 35 pounds yet.
You'd be walking down the river. I mean, we weren't deployed to the river very much, but on occasion we'd be down there. And at night, you could be walking along and almost get knocked over by a rat hitting you in your boot. That's for real.
Wow.
And
okay,
then,
so...
you're talking about centipedes. One night was in an outpost, and I was getting some sleep, and I had my flak jacket on, and during the night a centipede crawled up, and this is true, crawled up in my back, and when I rolled over, it stung me, and I was paralyzed.
Now are centipedes the poisonous ones, or is it a millipede? Which one is?
No, centipede.
The centipede is.
I got to be honest with you, I don't know the difference in the two.
I don't know. They're both long. They all got a shitload of legs.
Is when they hollered at me to get up, I was paralyzed. And the only thing I could do was blink my eyes. And they rolled me over, and the centipede or millipede or whatever the hell it was 18 inches long. It had stung me. It paralyzed me. They took me out to the good ship Hope. And 3 days later, I was back to normal. So I had just gotten stung by whatever it was that had paralyzed me.
Okay, so you got to watch out for tigers. You got to watch out for centipedes, millipedes, cobras. What other snakes? I know there were cobras, but what other snakes were there?
Oh, jeez. Taipeis, bushmasters.
What's a taipei? I've never heard of that.
I can't tell you. I mean, I've never seen one in person, but...
They didn't... Okay, when I was in the Army, before you would deploy, they would give you... they give you like little booklets and little flyers to keep on you and show you, how to shake their hands or how to greet somebody or words to say, to keep you out of trouble. The customs of that country, because they would expect us as Americans to follow their customs.
Not that way in Vietnam.
No?
Nothing. No, I mean, they'd give you a list and it lists 67 types of snakes that were in Vietnam.
But there was no picture?
There was no picture. I mean, you know what a cobra looked like.
Right.
And speaking of poisonous snakes, and this happened, we were with a British outfit that when we'd go on operations sometimes, we'd have British, we'd have Koreans. It was always intermingled. And to the right of me, probably at 60 yards, I heard a gun go off. And it's broad daylight. We weren't under fire, but I heard this gun go off. And I looked around, and there was a British guy laying down. And when I got to him, I said, "What happened?" And he pointed, and there was a cobra going away from us.
He shot at the cobra?
No. The cobra had bit him in the back of the leg.
Oh.
He was carrying a shotgun, put it on the back of his leg, parallel to his leg like this, and pulled the trigger and blew the whole back of his leg off. Because the median, the closest you could get to getting a helicopter in to get somebody back to a hospital was 32 minutes. 32 minutes, cobra bite, you're gone.
So he shot himself in the leg, blew part of his calf off to keep the venom, to get it out?
Exactly. Now, we weren't taught that, but the British were.
I don't think you can be taught that.
No, I mean, they were aware of this kind of stuff. The Marines that I knew and trained with, nobody told us how to do stuff like that, how to take care. You could put a tourniquet on your leg.
Right, that's what I was
but
thinking.
When you get back to the hospital, they're going to chop your leg off.
Right, because it's already, I mean, it's done swollen, turned purple.
But what this
and
guy
black.
did, as soon as he got hit, now I don't know if they were trained, but he just took his shotgun, put it parallel to his calf muscle, and blew it off.
Wow.
And it saved us,
Well, see, here, if we get bit by a snake and we're, ways off, like, just wrap it up on a tourniquet. Because not the snakes around here, they can kill you, but it's not as likely as like cobra or,
Well, there were 10 snakes out of the 67 that they called the 10-second snake.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard that phrase.
And Taipei is one of them, Bushmasters. And some of these snakes, when they hit, they don't just bite you once.
They repeatedly.
They just keep hitting you.
It's like a water moccasin. It keeps snapping. And you got bit by a water moccasin. I've been bit
Twice,
by one.
Yeah,
and I got bit on my hand. Where did you get bit?
I got bit in my leg both times.
In your calf or by your knee?
Right up in here.
Okay, for everybody who can't see this because we don't have video, on the side of his knee, he got bit twice by a water moccasin.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I got bit on my left hand, right on my thumb. You can see the scars right there. I put a tourniquet on mine. It swelled up. I went and got they drained my thumb, and then I had a stitch put in. That was it. Now, I'm still trying to, how would you go, I'm trying to put myself as the instructor of this British, army, whatever they call it. If you get bit by, I'm just wondering how he gave that speech. How do you think that went? I mean, if you get bit by a cobra, blow part of your leg off.
Yeah.
It'll.
I don't know if they would be instructed in that, but they were made aware of circumstance as to what you could do. You might lose part of your leg. They might have to amputate it after being bit by applying a tourniquet. And this cutting the wound and sucking poison out is bull.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody or heard of anybody doing that.
But the thing is, the 10 worst snakes over there, they had a toxin poison that if you got bit in your hand, from the time it took the blood to circulate from your hand to your heart, is how long you had to live.
Right.
So in other words, if you got bit in the hand, if you had a good enough machete,
go ahead and cut your arm off.
If you were lucky.
Yeah.
Because once it gets to your heart.
Well, yeah, because once it hits your heart, it goes all over.
But it paralyzes. That's the 10 snakes. These snakes, when they bite you, as the blood circulates, It's paralyzed.
It slowly paralyzes you. You lose the feeling, and it starts eating away because of the, what are they, neurotoxins they call them?
Yeah.
And it just starts.
Yeah.
It's a bacteria, but it acts like a virus. I mean, I do a little reading on that.
It's paralysis. I mean, you can't move it, use it, do anything.
Right, because of the, like I said, the neurotoxins. They hit your nerves.
Exactly.
And if you can't feel your hand.
Can't,
I mean, it's almost like, when you go to the dentist and they give you the silly gas, you're still awake, and the dentist still talks to you. Hey, keep your mouth open, or turn your head this way for me, or stick your tongue out, or and you can understand them, but you're froze. I mean, it's basically like doing surgery. You can't feel it, but you're awake, and those neurotoxins, when they hit you, that's what it does. It hits your nerves, numbs your basically it numbs your nerves to where you can't move your hand. It's like sleeping on your hand, waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh my, you can't move. It's real heavy, and I mean that's the closest. I've never been bit by a cobra. Don't know anybody that has. Remember that girl I was telling you about, the singer dancer girl over there? She did the show with the snakes, pythons and stuff, and they didn't tape the dumbass. I still can't get over that. The dumbass promoter said, "Here, we're not going to do a show with the boa constrictor. It's sick or whatever. We're going to give you a cobra," and she doesn't even ask, "Are you going to tape its mouth? Is it devenomized?" No, she gets on stage and sings and dances, and then she gets bit and dies 45 minutes later. That's what you get. I could do a whole show on snakes. I hate snakes, but I'll talk about them. But how do you not?
An assistant at one of the shows that was on TV, they were being trained how to handle black mambas.
Yeah.
And those are the
Those
scariest.
are some bad.
And this guy was helping the instructor put the mamba back in its cage or whatever they had it in.
Holding.
And the mamba fang clipped his little finger. He went back to his seat, falls out of his chair dead. That's what I'm talking about, a 10-second snake. And this guy, all he had, they found, was where the fang had nicked him. It hadn't even bit him. All it had done was envenomate that much. And it's toxic enough to within a half hour, he stood up and went right to the ground. He was dead. I mean, there was no resuscitation or nothing,
I cannot. I mean, like I said, I've been bit, and I'd never want to go through that again. I was 14 or 15 when it happened. I was so traumatized by that. Ever since then, I don't like it. I've told you this downstairs. We've talked a lot downstairs. So, but I killed that snake. I've killed every snake I've come across since then. If I haven't killed it, I've tried to kill it because I don't play with them. I don't even a garter snake. And I was foolish enough one time to pick up a coral snake, thinking it's a king snake.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember how that little rhyme went, and I thought whatever, it's calm, and it didn't bite me, thank God, because I've heard, I've only seen 2 or 3 wild, the one I played with, but are coral snakes as bad as people say they are, like venom-wise?
That's my understanding, but the only thing about a coral snake, it can only bite extremities, like toes and fingers.
Because the teeth are so small.
Well, the mouth is so small. It can't really.
So it can't open up on you like a cottonmouth or a copperhead.
Yeah, coral snakes, when they bite, they do this. They don't release.
So
they just keep, till you finally get it off of you.
They latch onto you, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked so much, I don't really know what to talk about now. Tell us about some of your Mary Kay experiences. Mary Kay is a beauty company, for those of you who don't know. I mean, worldwide, billion-dollar makeup and beauty company. And you worked, or you met Mary Kay herself.
Mm-hmm.
You flew her around. You flew her personal plane, right? Or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you flew her personal plane. Tell me tell us some of the stories that you haven't already told me, or maybe one that sticks out to you.
The only one I think I'll talk about is I was able to go out to her house one time, and her house was pink, which was her colors,
She
because
had a pink house.
all the Cadillacs were pink. And she had a dog bedroom, and
Her dog had its own bedroom.
yeah, and it was 1,200 square feet.
That's bigger than this apartment.
I know.
That's,
And that's the only thing I'm going to say. She was, a fantastic lady. When she would meet you, you were the center of attention. She made you feel like you were the king, and she was just one of your people.
so what about this painting? You've told me about the painting a couple times. What you were just moving it. She said she didn't like it
Yeah.
and gave it to you.
Yeah.
And did she say this? Did she say, hey, this is by this guy, or this
No,
cost me this? She just said, here you go.
I was helping her unload something out of the plane, and it was a painting. And I said, man, that's really good looking. She said she hated it, and she gave it to me.
Is it in your? I've only been in your apartment once. Is it in your bedroom, or because I
No,
didn't?
sitting on the floor because the
Oh,
frame
I
was-
must not have paid
Yeah.
close enough. So the frame's broke on it because it's so heavy. You told me that earlier. What about Alaska? Working up there.
That was
What-
cool. That was cool. I flew for the Alaska pipeline. Crashed twice. Back then, when you flew into Anchorage, you'd land, and then to get to your hangar area and your parking area, you'd drive down the freeway. They'd close the freeway, and you'd taxi down the freeway and then exit.
So a public road, you got to take off and land an airplane on it before you can go back to your
No,
hangar.
I mean, no, they have a runway, but to get from the actual runway back to the hangar area,
Right.
they'd close down the freeway, and you'd taxi down the freeway till you got to the hangars, then you'd exit. And what they did, it was like railroad tracks.
Uh-huh.
They had lights, and when the lights were red, it meant there's a plane coming down, stop, fool.
Right.
So,
Right.
I crashed twice. Both times it was mechanicals. I wasn't that great at pilot, but I have nothing to do with avionics and stuff like that. And back then you flew 120s and 140s.
Is that
Yeah. That's the aircraft, Cessnas.
so it's like our truck's Chevy 1500.
Yeah.
And the 1500's got to do with the size of the cab or whatever. It's,
Right. Well, these were just
numbers.
You call them pea poppers.
Right.
Top speed would maybe be 80 mile an hour. And the first time I went down, my avionics package was shot, and I was in real bad weather. It's like an ice fog that comes through. So I started out plane at 20 and went in tail first.
When you say that, what do you give us a visual for what you mean by you stalled it and went tail first?
Well, what you do, the planes could literally fly at 25 mile an hour. So you bring it down to that 25 mile an hour, you pull the yoke into your stomach, and it goes down tail first.
Okay.
So I'm 100 feet off the ground, I'm in fir trees, I'm not going 15 mile an hour, and it just backed itself down between the trees, like this.
Right.
And sure, it shook me up and stuff like that. Then the second time I was in a 140, went down, and you gotta remember, as a bush pilot, you always carried 2 weapons, 2 sleeping bags, enough food.
In case you got stranded somewhere.
Yeah,
Or you
yeah.
were out, because there's like tigers in Vietnam. There's bears and wolves and
Yeah. So you always carried enough, and both times I went down, the aircraft itself pretty much was intact. I mean, wings would fall off and stuff like that, but your cabin was fine. And the second time I went down, it was the next day, it was beautiful. No wind, it was probably 25 degrees, sun was out, but I wake up because something is shaking the plane, it's shaking the fuselage. And I couldn't figure. I'm out in the middle of Podunk,
BFE.
Alaska,
You're in BFE.
and I look up. I push the window open and look out, and there's a grizzly hitting the tail of my plane.
And he's shaking the whole plane.
Yeah,
waking you up.
well, and you got to understand, these planes, you can pick it up
Right, right.
on the tail and walk it around. It's not that heavy a deal, but I thought it was kind of cool that he was mad at my airplane, so he was banging on it.
Hey, you son of a bitch! You woke me up.
Yeah.
I want to touch back on Vietnam for a second, if you don't mind. You told me about you got in a little trouble for shooting tanks
Yeah.
at some.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I don't know what happened. We had been in a firefight, and we had an armored unit that was, I don't know if it was attached to my outfit or not, but as it turns out, the higher ups, I was a sergeant at that time, the higher ups had been wounded and taken away, and a colonel came up to me and said, "Who are you?" And I told him I was Sergeant so-and-so, and I was platoon sergeant. And he said, "Well, there's 3 tanks over here, and now you're in charge of the 3 tanks." And I didn't know nothing from tanks, believe me. Well, we're sitting in this position, and we were there almost a week. And to make hot chocolate, you have to understand, you keep your sugar and your chocolate out of your sea rations for 2 or 3 days. And then you cook it up with heat tabs, your water. And the water, you put iodine tablets in it so you can envision how good that tastes.
Oh, I know exactly how it tasted.
And so I boiled up my hot chocolate. Usually it took about 20 minutes to get a good can going. And I stood up, and a sniper opened up, and I hit the ground, and my hot chocolate that had taken me 20 minutes to fix was all over the ground.
So you spilled your hot chocolate because of this asshole sniper.
Yeah. So I built another, and I'm not lying, you had to save like 2 weeks to get 2 hot chocolates. And I stood up the second time, and he opened up again, but this time I didn't care. I was going to drink my hot chocolate and cuss him at the same time. Next day, I went down to my tanks, and I told the gentleman, I said, "I need you to lay into this hill where the sniper was located." Well, that night, he opened up again, and I called TOT, the total on target, and they put 6 rounds each from each tank into the hill. And the hill had been 221 foot, but when they got done with the HE, the hill was no longer 221 feet. It was 180 feet.
So you leveled it.
Yes.
Okay, what happened then?
There was no more sniper.
No more sniper.
And
obviously, he's gone. He's blown to oblivion.
And then, who is it? Logistics. I don't remember, G3, G4, something like that, came up, wanted to know who had authorized that fire mission, and I said I did. And they said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Sergeant." And they said, "You ain't got the authorization," but I had already done it. So I wasn't a sergeant no more. I was a private again. But that happened 3 times. So it wasn't a big
3
deal.
times?
Yeah.
See, I got one. It was for insubordination. I told you down there. I didn't agree with my squad leader, and the shit wasn't rolling downhill that day. It was rolling up. I went bitching from I was in charge of our squad because of our sergeant went AWOL. His wife, they had personal problems, so he went AWOL. So I'm the next to close, highest rank. I get put in charge. Well, I don't want to be in charge because, for one, I'm getting ready to get out. I got people here who are getting, our squad was everybody getting out. So I had people, I'm A-capping. I've got other people A-capping. I got one guy getting kicked out because he failed a drug test. I got another guy getting kicked out because he's just a shitbag. He doesn't want to be in anymore. He's done. Fuck it. That's his attitude. So I don't even want to be in charge of these guys. So uh, I get into it with another one of the squad leaders, which is an E5. I was an E4. Then that escalates to our platoon sergeant, and then from the platoon sergeant it goes to the first sergeant. Well, it just so happened that while I'm trying to plead my case over this incident that happened, our sergeant major just happens to be in our motor pool. He catches wind of it. There's an E4 trying to put an E6 in his place, and I was in the right there. The language maybe wasn't the best, but as far as being right or wrong, I was right. But that sergeant major, he smartened me up pretty quick. Within a week, I wasn't an E4 no more, and I was mowing grass. I was doing extra duty, but I paid my dues. That's the only time I got in trouble. It wasn't that bad. It took a little money from me, but it is what it is. They didn't take away none of my college. They didn't take away benefits, nothing like that. Thank God. They could have really done it, but they didn't.
See, the way you talk is so different from the way it used to be. You didn't have that kind of crap going on. If you had a bone to pick, say, be a staff sergeant and gunny sergeant, you'd call him out and you'd take care of it yourself. You didn't go through a bunch of in-between nobodies.
Right.
Our sergeant major was like God on earth. He really was. But it wasn't because he made you feel inferior or was a bad person. He had fought with the Chinese in Korea. He led a band of Chinese guerrillas for our side, and it was out of respect. So if he talked, he didn't talk shit. He knew, so you had respect.
Right.
And we had a captain in Vietnam. We called him Spider-Man. He was red-haired. He, light complected, and we always wore our flak jackets, but we didn't wear our uniform underneath. You just wear your flak jacket,
right.
Period. And as soon as he got there, his first order of business was you had to wear your uniform underneath your flak jacket. And because he was red-haired, he couldn't stand being in the sun, and his
because he would burn easier.
Yeah, but his deal in the United States, they sent him to a combat unit. His claim to fame, he was a protocol officer. And as my understanding, a protocol officer does nothing more than set up parties and dinners for the brass, colonels, and above. He had no reason to be in Vietnam, and he's telling us stupid things like if you were back in the United States you'd worry about, but in a combat zone, forget it.
See, you're a Vietnam veteran. I'm an Iraq, Afghanistan war veteran, and the times have changed. They've implemented certain policies, and our first sergeant, he was a Gulf War veteran. He made his bones in the Gulf War in Desert Storm, and then he just he after Desert Storm he rose through the ranks or whatever. But he would tell us, and this has only been 15 years, and he's telling us, this is, it's so dog and pony, you know, and but I've noticed no matter what generation you talk to, I can talk to you. I can go to other guys from my generation, or I can go, to a World War II veteran, and the dog and pony show never changed. Everywhere, stateside, they tell you how it was going to be overseas. Well, I had a big problem because I've got guys, they've been in for 9 or 10 years. They're E5s, E6s, and they're trying to tell me how it is overseas when they've never been.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can you tell me, about this when you've never been there? And you got guys, E4s, my rank, been deployed twice, and they've got to listen to these E6s who don't know jack about nothing. Over there, okay, nowadays, did y'all have the berets? I know the green berets did, but did y'all have, the maroon berets and the black ones? Or did y'all just have y'all's PCs?
To be honest,
well, you were in the Marines. You weren't in the Army, so.
Yeah, no, I don't think we had berets.
All right, well, we
Our
have
Seabees wore a funny hat. And these were the guys when you find tunnel systems that would blow up the tunnels.
So like your EOD guys, your explosive ordnance device.
Yeah,
people.
but they were called CBs, and they were
Yeah.
Navy. And they all were pretty cocky. And I remember on several occasions where they would holler fire in the hole, and shrapnel the size of a small trash can would go flying over your head because they were so stupid about the way they laid it. And then one time they were going to set off this big explosion in a tunnel, and one of these smartasses was just taking his time walking back. He said 30-second fuse, no problem. It went off and it killed him instantly. It smashed him.
The concuss is what did it, or was there actual shrapnel?
It
They
took
hit
him off his feet, and when he hit face first, it killed him.
So the
instantly.
concussion from the explosion, and then the impact of whatever he hit killed him.
Yeah, and we clapped.
You clapped.
We clapped because those guys had put us in danger because they were careless. They didn't
Right.
give a shit. We might be 50 feet away, and they might send off a 1,000-pound explosion, that knock us to our knees.
Right.
And they didn't care, and they thought it was cute. So when this guy got killed being a smartass, we just thought that was great. And you don't even think about that. I mean, you don't at all.
See, we had an EOD company next across the street from us, and those guys, they'd be out there playing. See, y'all didn't have the robots, and y'all didn't really.
No.
I don't know how often y'all drove places, but
No.
over in Iraq and Afghanistan, they drive everywhere.
No.
You got Humvee trains going this way. You got
Everything was a walk or a helicopter. There was no. You might, when you first got to Vietnam, ride in a 6x to your first area.
right.
But like our first area was Chu Lai, and from that point on, no, it was 90% walking or helicopters.
So y'all didn't have to worry about like IEDs, roadside bombs, stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure y'all had booby traps to watch out for,
but we did have occasions for booby traps,
Right.
minefields, and stuff like that.
Right.
The third night we were there, we had corpsmen, and those are Navy personnel that were attached to us. And one of them went out and got himself in a booby trap, and I don't recall if he lost a leg or what, and then two others went to help him, and they got blowed up. And so after the third day, we had one corpsman. We started with 8, and this wasn't even combat. This was just hitting booby traps.
wow.
you know.
See, being in Iraq and Afghanistan, they have to worry about IEDs. That's
Yeah.
the big thing.
Yeah.
But see, these guys, these Taliban, ISIS, terrorists, whatever, the bad guys, they started getting smart, and they'd get hip to it. Well, the necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
So the army came up with this minesweeper truck, and it's got magnets on, all the way around it, and it's got these heavy duty chains.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
And them things can take a pounding, and if you're inside, you're just gonna feel a little jerk. That's it. Outside chaos, inside, yeah, you're fine. But what they started doing, and when we got a pamphlet for it, to keep on us, and it was they were taking old mortar rounds, putting little parachutes on them, like you would almost like a firework that goes up in the air, comes down with a little parachute, and they put parachutes on these mortars and throw them off buildings. They'd tink them, throw them off the building, and it would come inside the Humvee. Now that never happened to me or anybody I know, but this is just what the guys are telling us. Hey, this is what they're doing now, and I'm thinking these people are crazy. They're taking mortar rounds, hitting them against a rock or a metal thing in their hands. How are they supposed to be scared of a 50 cal coming at them? They don't care. So a lot of times I'd be like, y'all don't even know what y'all are training us for, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you're giving us somewhat of an idea, but you don't know what you're once you get over there and shit starts happening to you, you don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You could be a quartermaster guy. You go to the range once every 6 months like you're supposed to, if that, maybe once a year, and you hardly ever shoot your weapon. You hardly ever clean it. It stays in the armory. So when you go over there, you've got a weapon with you 24/7. You don't know what to really do with it. You know how to use it, but you don't. You don't know if something happens. You don't know how you're going to react. So, and they've become so technology based now with their training. Like they don't even send us to ranges anymore. The last range I went to was an indoor range with a little video game simulator. That's how they train us now. When y'all were, we would set up makeshift ranges and stuff. But when y'all were in stateside, did y'all go to ranges, or did y'all just show up, go to your motor pools, or did y'all have to go like, hey, 05, we got to be at a at this range, or be here full battle router ready to go. We're going range. Or when y'all were in Vietnam, did y'all set up ranges? How did y'all train besides basic training? And
well, once you got to Vietnam, they did give you a course on, in case you were captured, how to get away, which is absurd.
How do you teach that? Get away from.
And they taught you stuff that meant absolutely nothing. I don't know what it would be like to be captured and held by people. I mean, they don't give you a choice as to where they're going to put you or
right
how they're going to treat you or anything like that. So the stuff they're showing you makes no sense at all.
You think it's more of a mental thing, just to make you feel a little calmer? Because I thought I started noticing little things, and like I said, I'm an out of the box person anyway. I notice little things. If somebody's talking to me, and I can kind of feel that they're bullshitting me, I'll watch the way they talk or the way they. I'm an animated person. I move my hands. You see that. But if they're, twitchy, or if they're a little unsure of what they're saying, but they're still trying to say, I pick up on that kind of stuff. So when the instructors are trying to tell us, because I went through the SF unit I was with, they were taking some of the new guys and putting them through a SEER school, where they drop you off in the woods, and you have basically a week to find this mark. And the mark doesn't exist. Nobody knows that. They're handed a map. Here's a mark. You need to find that. And by the way, you need to find out where you are on this map, because we're not telling you. So when they do, they capture them. Everybody gets captured. The SF guys are, I'm not going to say that they torture them, but they put them through, stress to simulate that stuff. But you can't really simulate being captured.
No.
So a lot of times I would just be like, well, this is a game. That's how I would, like I said, I went through the SEER school one time. And it wasn't even the school. It was just a little, because I was with them. They were like, hey, you're out here with us. You're probably going to get captured, blah, blah. You'll see what we get to go through a little bit. And they didn't break my fingers. I didn't, I never saw any of that. Like people say, if you go through, SF school, there's SEERs, and they're going to break your fingers. They're going to punch you. They're going to torture you. They're going to, waterboard you. I never saw anybody do that. But my whole thing was, it's just to make, in my head, that's how I reasoned it. This is why they're training you. It's just to make you feel a little better, because you can't guess what's going to happen to you. If you get captured, you're gonna go, okay, I've kind of been through this, so it calms you down a little bit. I think that's what the purpose is. I don't think you can actually be trained to escape. I don't think you can be trained to deal with that kind of situation. I think that's what a lot of the military is. And I'm not putting the military down. I'm a veteran, you're a veteran, but I think a lot of the stuff they do is more psychological than anything, just to get you in a right frame of mind where they want you to be.
I think that's true to a big extent, but you can't prepare yourself for what might happen.
Right.
Just like that ISIS deal where they set the guy on fire.
The reporter in the cage. How could that reporter?
You can't be taught to be brave when somebody's setting your ass on fire and you're in a cage. I mean, that's absurd.
And I don't necessarily agree with torturing people. I don't think a waterboard is torture. Like I said, I've been waterboarded, not to an extreme extent, but just to kind of get the feeling. And if these people, no matter what, Vietnamese, Viet Cong, if China decides to pull something, Japan, the kamikaze people, they don't have a problem dying. America seems to have this, and I'm not going to run down America, but they seem to have this ideology or this thought that we're Americans, they're going to respect us just because of that. And they're not. They could care they could give two shits. They wouldn't even give you that if they had it. They don't care. So a lot of the time I was in the Army, it was questioning. I questioned a lot, never out loud, but in my head I'm thinking, you can't teach that. You can't train that. You can't unless you're in that situation.
Well,
that's where you're going to make your bread and butter. Is in that situation, not here on the practice field.
It's kind of like in Vietnam, they didn't allow you to have shotguns, and I questioned that on several occasions, and they said it made too big a mess when you killed somebody. That's what I was told. That's insane.
But see,
what does a mortar round do to you when it explodes 5 feet away from you?
Well, and not just you, but the people around you.
You know.
Or a landmine, or not the landmine, but the claymore.
Buddies.
The claymores.
Yeah.
You know what? They taught us. Now, they taught us when you set up a claymore, all right, front towards enemy. If you can read that, you're in the wrong spot. So, and then our drill sergeant said, by the way, whenever you conceal it, put some rocks and some sticks and just to add to the blast. Now that's what they were telling us. But then you get over there and they tell you, oh, you can't even shake this guy's hand. So I can blow him up with a claymore filled with rocks and nails and stuff, but I can't shake the dude's hand, even though he's extending a hand to me. Like, or what was another one that they had us do? They told us how the M16 or the M4 they taught us how the trajectory of the bullet works. They said if you get shot in your stomach, doesn't necessarily mean the bullet's coming out like you would if you got shot with a 45. It's gonna enter you and it's gonna come out of your back, or you get shot in the arm, it's gonna come out on the other side. No, the M16 bullet, the way it spins, it could hit you in the leg. That bullet might come out of your hand, or it might come out because it bounces around. Yeah. Now, if you're gonna make a bullet that is meant not the bullet's not meant to shoot them and stop them right there. The bullet is made to go inside, rip up everything, and maybe come out, maybe not. Do the most damage. Yeah. So how can you tell, how can you say, look, we can't torture him anymore, okay? Everybody's, they're smart up, they know they know what we do. They're smartened up. But we're going to keep this bullet that basically does the same thing. Because I've seen a guy, an American guy, he accidentally shot himself in the thigh. The bullet came out of his butt cheek. Now, how does a bullet go from here, right above your knee, to your butt cheek? And it tore all this up on him. But I'd question stuff like that. I can't do this, but this bullet is made to do that. Or these claymores, you're telling me to put rusty nails and stuff in front of it to add to the blast, but you can't double tap a guy.
Have you ever seen what a claymore does?
Yeah, not to a human, but we have shot them off at targets. I've seen what they do. It's thousands and thousands of little BBs.
Oh, I know.
And it.
That by putting nails and crap in front of it, you don't need to. When that claymore goes off, it'll mow your yard for you real quick. And we had a tank that it was like a giant claymore. It had a front on it that had 188 rockets, and we'd come into a minefield, and all the rockets left at the same time, 188 of them, and it would clear a path 2 feet deep, 100 yards long, and like 20 feet wide. And the first time I saw it go off, I was on the backside of the hill. It took the tank and almost tipped it over. It had that force.
Oh, okay, yeah, the tanks with the... Yeah.
And then it come back. But it was perfect. It was 2 feet deep and like 50 yards wide and 100 yards long. So if you thought you had a minefield...
Hey, you just cleared it. You made you a road right there. No need to get a contractor involved. All right, we're going to get off the war stories. Let's go into something a little more comedic. You used to own a wolf.
Yeah.
What was that? Because you've seen Cooper. He gets burst of energy like he did earlier. He just runs around. What would the wolf do? If it got bored, or did it just hang around the house, or did it go out and adventure? Did it tear your yard up? What did it do?
No, the wolf, I got it into Mexico, and the lady I bought it from was a breeder, and it was a Lobo wolf, she called it. It was black, but it had yellow eyes, and that was the reason I picked him. And she told me when I would raise him that every time I'd feed him, to bite him on his nose till he cried. That way he would always know that I was the alpha male, and he would mind me. And when I got him, I took him back to my area in Austin, Texas, just outside of Austin, Texas. I had 10 acres, a little house, 2 horses, and a pet skunk. And to be honest with you,
Wait. You had a pet skunk.
yeah,
Did you have it de-smelled or whatever they're called?
yeah, descended.
How did they do that? Because now I'm a skunk.
Well, I found it was a baby skunk. I found 2 of them. One day I was out riding a horse, and the wolf was with us, and he stumbled upon these baby skunks that were just, little bitty. One of them died before I used literally baby bottles
Right.
for toy babies.
Yeah.
And that's how, I got him. And then I got him descented, where they took his scent glands out. And I potty trained him to where he was just like a cat. He'd use a litter box.
So not only did you have, you had a pet skunk, you got a pet wolf, you're bottle feeding this skunk, this baby skunk, you're getting it descented, and you're training it like a cat.
Yeah. And he was a house pet. He very seldom went outside. And to get to know you, he'd run up your arm and try to get to your nose, and that's how he would recognize you. He could get the scent from your nose. And he wouldn't bother you. He'd just run up there and scent you, and then he'd run back over to me or go about his business, whatever he did. But I had him on a leash, and when I'd go to the feed store, I'd have my wolf. I always kept him on a chain. I've got the belt downstairs. I had a big, wide kidney belt.
Right.
And I had the chain attached to the kidney belt. So
like a weightlifter's belt almost. That's how thick it would be.
And so if he was going to go after somebody or something, he'd have to
attached
tow
to you.
me.
Literally at the hip, you were attached to this wolf.
And I'd have him, my right hand, the skunk, walking on the leash, left hand going to the feed store. And the first time I did that, it cleared the store.
I was about to ask you what
People
you
got
bring.
the hell out the way.
You bring a skunk on a leash, got a collar. I'm assuming it's got a collar on and a leash, and you bring it into a store.
Yeah.
And
feed store now, And after the first time, of course, everybody there knew me and knew my animals, and the wolf never bothered anybody. Skunk never bothered anybody, except it was curious. He'd run up to you, and if you didn't know it was a pet skunk,
you'd freak out. Hell yeah, I'd freak out too.
Yeah.
I see a guy coming. What? Okay, from a distance you'd be like, okay, he's got a dog, a husky, or a chow, whatever. He's got a dog. What is that other thing he's got? Okay, he's got a little dog with him. Okay, then he gets closer and you see it's a skunk.
Yeah.
How many times did people stop you and just ask you what?
No, and the bars that I used, I didn't too much bar hop, but I had places, redneck places that I'd go, and I'd bring the skunk in, and all the women would want to hold it, and he'd run up and down across the bar.
The skunk was your wingman.
Yeah. The skunk would run up and down the bar. He never bothered anybody. Never was just a fun animal. He really was, and he was cleaner. It's the cleanest animal I've ever been around. That's all he'd do.
And see, you wouldn't expect that because they get this, around, Austin. I'm from Buffalo, Palestine, and around, East Texas, where skunks are, they're associated with smelling bad, tearing up shit, and rabies.
Yeah.
Did you have to take your skunk, or did you even worry about taking him to the vet to get him a rabies shot? Or if you decided, look, I'm going to keep it.
When I took him in to have the scent glands removed,
right,
he got all shots just like you would give a normal cat.
What did the vet say to you when you? Hey, I got a skunk. How did that conversation take place? You call him, hey, look, I got a...
the vet that I went to had a pet monkey of some goddamn kind.
Okay, I've heard of people with monkeys.
Yeah.
Never a skunk though. That's why I'm asking.
But it was
how did
one
that?
of, had a long tail and it was real friendly. It wasn't big.
Right. Yeah, it was one of the small ones.
Yeah, but dirty little shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're dirty. They'll
And
throw their poop at you. Like I said,
yeah,
I've seen pet monkeys. I've been around them, and they're dirty.
and so when I took the skunk in, it didn't bother this guy. Evidently, he was used to being around shit because of his stupid monkey. But he descended him. He was gonna declaw him, and I said no. I said, he has to have.
Yeah, you got to be, because they climb, so he's got to be able to. Yeah, if we ever got a
Well,
cat.
he was a house skunk though. I mean, he really. When I take him outside, he was on a leash. I didn't want him to run away, so I could have had him declawed.
Right.
But the thing that was so amazing, I don't know how many times I had an entrance through my garage that the wolf, he'd normally at night come in and sleep in the garage with my tractor and my cars and stuff. And I don't know how many times the wolf would be in the living room and the skunk would be laying up against him sleeping. They'd both be sound asleep.
Best friends.
And the wolf never bothered him. I mean, he never, it was no big deal. The wolf would come in and, look at me and like, you asshole, walk back outside and do whatever he was going to do. I'd feed him every now and again. Never had a problem. The wolf never ran away, never attacked anybody, was never aggressive, but the lady that sold him to me always told me, make sure he understands you're the alpha male.
Right, because, a wolf, I've met a lady who had a wolf, well, she had several wolves on her, but they were all friendly. They didn't, I had to, I told you we had to. It was while I was on probation for my DUI. We had to do community service, and we had a city trash day. And the lady called the office, whatever. She called whoever was organizing it. Said, "Hey, I got an old barn. It's already taken down. It's on the curb. Just need your guys to come pick it up." So we went and picked it up, and that's when I seen her wolves. But I forgot what I was going with that. I forgot. I can't. Anyway, her wolves were real huge. I've seen coyotes, but a coyote is the same size as a husky. And to me, a husky's not very big because of I've had Rottweiler and stuff like that.
Huskies are pretty
but
big.
we'll see that girl that lives over there.
Yeah.
She's got the black chow, and she's got the husky. And the husky is way bigger than any husky I've seen. So I think it may be a mix of something.
Well, it may have been a Samoyed because huskies are inbred with several different other breeds.
Right. But okay, now I remember where I was going with that. A wolf is not naturally domesticated like Cooper there.
Right.
Cooper can walk around and I can teach him things. Wolves are inbred, kind of like I was going to ask you a second ago, but I didn't want to interrupt the skunk. About getting it declawed. I mentioned that because of climbing. That's just its natural nature.
Yeah.
But then I got to thinking about it. Skunks don't really climb trees, so it wouldn't. It wouldn't climb, so it wouldn't need its claws. But you decided to keep them just for the that's how it came into the world.
Yeah.
Minus the scent glands, it made a pretty good pet.
Yeah.
And
Excellent.
what? How long did it live? Or did you give it away while it was still alive? Or
No, probably 11 years.
11 years. Golly.
And something else too about the skunk. When I'd go on a road trip, he was my headrest. He'd crawl up around my neck and go to sleep. I'm serious. And we'd be running down the road, and here's a skunk tail in his head over here, and I don't give a shit what people think. So.
If I had a skunk and it was a pet and it was domesticated, and I wouldn't carry that. Hey, look at this! I got a pet skunk.
And believe it or not, women liked that stupid little skunk. They really did. They thought, "Oh, that's the cutest thing."
I'm sure that once they hear it's it's the scent glands are gone, so it won't spray you. It's domesticated. I've had it since it's a little baby. That's probably a once in a lifetime thing for them, like the monkey was for me. But once it threw some shit out a window, I was done. I took it off my hand and put it in a. It didn't throw it at me. It reached in its diaper, and I was standing by a window, and it threw the shit at the window, and that was it for me. I didn't want to I didn't want to be next, so I put it back in its little cage. But training. This is what I wanted to ask. Sorry, it got so long-winded, but how difficult was it to domesticate a wild animal, or was it because that skunk was just so young.
Probably.
It just adjusted
It
naturally.
imprinted on me.
Right.
It thought I was mama.
Right.
I'm serious. That's,
No, I
that's,
get it.
and so everything it did was had to be inbred, but training it, potty training,
It just naturally picked it up. Or?
it was almost like it did. I had a couple of occasions when it was real young where, it wouldn't go in the sandbox. And
Cooper's laying by the front door, and he just hit my little doorknob stopper.
But the skunk, after 2 or 3 times of, making a mess in the living room, it got used to the sandbox, and basically I didn't train it much.
It just hey, look, this is where I go. And what about the wolf? Was it kind of the same thing? You got it at a young age, so it imprinted on you, and you were like, look, I'm the alpha, kind of like I did with Cooper.
Well, when I
Or
got
why
rid of
people
him, he weighed 135 pounds, and I gave him to some friends of mine who had 2 young kids, and they came up to the house one day, and it was the first time they'd brought their kids. I didn't know, how my wolf would react.
Right. Had he been around kids before then? No.
No.
Just you.
Just me and the skunk. And, I had breeders would come by, and friends of mine would come by. Of course, they knew that, but he hadn't been around kids.
So your wolf was a stud wolf, or you?
No, I just
breeder friends of yours that were breeders. Okay.
Yeah.
Did they ever ask you to breed your wolf with their dog?
No, I wouldn't have done it anyhow. But I thought the wolf was out in the garage, and like I say, I had a door for him to come into the garage, where you go through.
Right, yeah.
And the same thing coming into the house. In the kitchen, my garage was off the kitchen.
Right.
So he'd come in like that. I thought he was out in the garage, and their 2 kids were outside with one of the horses. And, man, I told him, I said, where are your kids? Because I said, I don't know where the wolf is. And the name of the wolf was Smut.
Smug?
Smut.
Smut, okay.
Dirty animal.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we walked outside, and here's a wolf just outside the garage, and one of the kids is up on his back, pulling his ears, and he's looking at me like, what the fuck is going on?
Save me.
And I gave the wolf to them because, and as far as I know, he was just like he was with the skunk. He just,
maybe being around the skunk kind of helped him adjust, or maybe he just.
No, I just think that I had domesticated him enough, but he was free. On my 10 acres, he'd go out and I wouldn't see him for 2 or 3 days. And then
so he'd go
come back.
roaming and.
But he never went to my neighbors,
Right.
Nobody ever complained.
Yeah, nobody ever called you and said, hey, come get your wolf.
No.
So he knew that 10 acres was his to go walk around.
Yeah, for some reason. And I mean, like when people would come over, he might be 2 miles down on the property.
Yeah.
But as soon, he could hear the gravel as they'd come up to the house. He'd be there.
Yeah, he'd want to know, hey, who is coming on?
And on some occasions, my friends would come over, and I remember one time, one of my partners was getting a beer, and he said, you want another one? And I said, yeah. And when he went to hand me the beer, he did it too quickly.
Right.
And the wolf was beside me, and all you saw was his fangs. He never growled, he never did anything. He instantly was, don't move too quick toward my man.
Yeah.
Because I'll eat him. And he weighed 135 pounds when I got rid of him. I don't know how big he was supposed to get, but that was big enough for me.
Yeah. Well, see, I had a Rottweiler, and I had a friend of mine. He was in the Marines, but he lived in Fairfield, which is a town over from where I live. And he came over one day, and I was telling him, look, I've got this Rottweiler. He's kind of old now. Don't make any sudden movements. If you're going to pet him, just go straight in and pet him. Baby talking basically. I said, but he'll get jumpy at first around you because that's how he is. He's getting old. He's not real fond of new people anymore. So if you're gonna pet him, just reach out and do it. And I said, don't get too loud either because he'll get defensive. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. He wouldn't attack him, but he would let him know, hey, look, you need to calm down. And my friend, he's in there telling me, Iraq stories and blowing up, and he gets kind of loud. We've been drinking, so we get a little loud. Well, Bob is in my room, and my friend kind of stomps his foot, in my kitchen, and Bob just comes hurling out of my room at him. And I grabbed Bob by the I kind of hugged him by the neck, and I was telling him, calm down, sit, stay, heal. And Bob is just he's ready to go, all because that guy made that loud noise.
Yeah.
And I tried to calm down, Bob, calm down. And my friend, he's not worried about it. He knows I've got the the situation, but he before he left, he went to pet Bob. Because Bob is awake now. Bob sees him. He's warmed up to him a little bit. But that guy goes to pet him, but he kind of hesitates. And Bob takes that second. And that's the only person I ever saw Bob snap at. But he snapped at his hand. And I didn't know what to tell the guy because he's never done that. And all I can think of was, I saw him kind of hesitate to pet him. But other than that, I think Bob never growled at anybody. He would chase. He was weird. A normal car or truck could drive by our house, and he didn't pay it any attention, but let a mailman drive by, or police, or ambulance, or fire truck drive by, and they didn't have to have their sirens on. He knew what they looked like, and he would go out. He'd run up and down this fence.
He could tell the different sound of the engines. Believe it or not, that's how a lot of dogs.
Well, see, I think it was. He would look at I think he would look at them because it was just those kind of service vehicles. I could pull my truck up.
Well, but no, think about it. A post office postal employee drives one of them 3-cylinder, funny looking, and they make a different sound.
Right.
An ambulance makes a different sound. A cop car makes a different sound, engine wise.
And well, maybe he could hear something.
Caesar has said that. He said
Caesar Milan.
Said they will go after because of an engine noise.
That could
that surprised me. But I got to thinking, well,
their hearing is way more developed than ours, especially my wife can be sitting right here. I can be on the couch and I don't hear what she says, but that could be it. I just in my head made it simple for me. He doesn't like those particular vehicles. And he wouldn't go attack them if they if the mailman pulled up FedEx or whatever. He'd just bark. He wouldn't attack them.
I got to be honest with you. I've always wanted an elephant.
An elephant?
Yeah, no joke.
Well, I know a guy that can get you a zebra.
No, zebras.
I don't know about an elephant, but a zebra, yeah.
Zebras can't be domesticated at all.
Well, this guy, he had a zebra trained. He would,
well,
and it was
you
weird.
You can train them, but you can't really domesticate them. Just like the guy here in Texas that took on his buffalo. He's got a herd of buffalo, and he went out in the pen with a young buffalo male. 14 hours. He was out there getting knocked around by this buffalo. For 14
hours? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
He told his wife, he said, I'm not coming back one way or the other. I ain't coming back because I'm dead. It's done killed me. Or he's made up his mind that I'm king cheese. And they had the interview on Channel 8 here a year ago. He walks through the house and they're filming it. And this buffalo follows him into his house. It don't shit and it don't piss in his house, and it follows him through it don't knock nothing over, and it follows him out. And yet, when they first started filming, here's this buffalo in the pen, and it's charging everybody that gets close to it, except this guy. And he just walks it through, and as long as he's with it,
it's fine. Everything's okay.
But don't, and buffalo are mean.
Well, see, this guy, my mom used to be married to a guy named Monty. It was his dad who has the zebra. I don't know if he still has it. I haven't seen him in 10 years. But he had a zebra when my mom and Monty were married. And they would saddle the zebra up. They'd ride it. He bought I can't remember his name, but he bought a mare, and he bought a donkey. He bought a Jill. And he let the zebra breed both of them, and they both came out, with with little ponies, I guess you could call them. But they didn't look like the zebra. But they when they got older, they were the zebra size. The horses were bigger than the zebra, but it was almost like a Mustang. A short, compact, but muscular.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is, you see a zebra and the hair on its neck, the mane on the back, it's real short, stiff, and straight up. That's how these horses were. The mane on them was short, stiff, and straight up, and solid black. The horses were kind of light colored. Well, the donkey was dark, but the horse, the mare that had the pony, it was light colored like the mare, but it's the hair, its tail and its mane were stiff and solid black like the zebras, and I just thought that was he has a zebra. Okay, that's kind of cool in itself. On top of that, he rides the zebra. He walks the zebra around. He lets it mate his other stuff. And I'm thinking, this dude, he could be making some money. But he just kept it because he liked it.
Yeah.
And I asked him where he bought it. He'd never tell me where he bought it. So I don't know if he got it illegally, because they live pretty far out in the country. Nobody's going to go out there unless you live there. So.
Yeah, that's why. The only reason I ever thought about an elephant was I'd seen some, believe it or not, in Vietnam, and they were like a watering holes and stuff like that. And they had them trained and, just like a big kid to play with. But it's just they're so strong and they're very intelligent. And there's places here in the country that raise elephants.
Well, I've been to in I don't want to say the town because it might not be the right town, but it's over by Coppers Cove, Lampasas area. There's an exotic zoo or farm there, and you can hunt out there. I think they have like antelope and deer type game you can hunt, but they have giraffes. My dad took my sisters there, and they got pictures with giraffes and zebras and pictures of elephants and stuff, and crocodiles. They have a pond with crocodiles in it. I don't know how they salt the water, but they do. There's crocodiles there, and I've never been there, but I've seen the pictures from there, and we've drove past it. So we used to go hunting in Lampasas, deer hunting, and but we would drive there on the way to the processor to drop the deer off, and I've thought that was real cool to go. I've never been to one of those places, but I would like to go. All right, everybody, I got to cut Bruce off there. We got a little long-winded. I told him that was okay at the beginning of the show, but I kind of did a long opening, so I don't want the show to be too long. I know y'all got things to do. You can't just sit around for 2.5 hours. So we're going to cut this down, try to get it as close to 1.5 hours as possible. Bruce will be back next week. Actually, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. We'll finish up this. We're going to do part 2, but it won't be released for till next week. So be looking forward to that. We're going to go into more stories. You're going to hear more about his experiences. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all liked the story about the Bengal tiger, and we got it all cleared up. We got how I saved Cooper out of the way earlier in the day. As I record this out, I call it the outro. So as I'm recording this outro now, it's 9:30 at night at 9:30 p.m. I got done cooking dinner. We had grilled okra and grilled pork chops. If I sound hoarse, it's because of all the smoke I got in my throat. But dinner was good. The interview went great. I recorded the podcast around 12:30, the body of the show. I did the opening at about 10. Jacob's gonna piece it together for me. Y'all already hear me brag about him. I can't brag enough and thank him enough. But he's gonna get this put together and get it out to y'all. And next week you'll hear part 2 of my episode with Bruce, aka the old man. He's gonna tell y'all more about flying for Mary Kay, some more of that, meeting Mary Kay's son, flying around the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders in the band Alabama. He showed me that painting. That's a really nice abstract painting. I don't recognize the name on it, but I'm not that big of an art guy. But it is a nice painting. I'll get him to tell y'all some more stories, and we'll bounce back and forth. When we started doing it, before I pushed record, Bruce said, "Hey, wait a minute. How do you want me to do this? I've never done anything like this." I said, "Man, it's just like when we talk downstairs. I'll ask you questions, and you just, I'll lead you, basically. I'll lead you to water. Don't worry about it. He said, okay. If I get too long-winded, tell me. I said, no, it's okay. That's what I need. We need, get long-winded, get detailed in the stories. So he did, and it went great on our end. I got a phone call, got interrupted, took care of that business. But anyway, we're gonna have part 2 with Bruce next week. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope y'all enjoyed all the other episodes. Don't forget to go to podcast_Mack@yahoo.com. Write me any questions, tips, suggestions, criticisms, anything. Cooper's over here barking. He's got one of the pork chop bones. He's running around like a madman. Got a second wind. Quit yelling. But anyways, email me your tips, suggestions, comments, whatever. I want to do an AMA episode and ask me anything, kind of like they do on Reddit and Twitter. So email your questions in. It could be about sports. It could be about life. It could be about philosophy. It could be about anything. I'm a well-rounded person. Not a lot of people know that, but and I'll do my research. That way I don't sound like a dumb redneck. I know that's how I come off, but I'm a pretty smart, and I'm not trying to blow smoke, but there's a lot more to me than what people think, and that's another reason I want to do this. But I don't want to get long-winded and go on a rant about that. I'll see y'all next week, and like I said, we'll get part 2 out for y'all to finish up, and I hope y'all enjoyed it, and y'all have a great night, and everybody say your prayers and take your vitamins.